You're standing around a fire. It's 50,000 BC. The sun just went down. There's no Netflix. There's no phone. There's no passive-aggressive work email you've been avoiding for 3 days. There's just you, the flames, and a thick curl of smoke drifting directly into your face. And somewhere, at some point, one of your ancestors looked at that smoke and thought, wait, what if I did that on purpose? This is the story of how humans discovered smoking. Not cigarettes, not the guy outside the office you always end up talking to for too long. We're talking about the very first time a human being intentionally inhaled something burning. And the answer might be the strangest thing you hear all week. Because here's what nobody tells you. Smoking doesn't start with tobacco. It doesn't start with trade routes or colonial ships or 16th century Europe. The desire to inhale smoke might be so deeply wired into us that it predates civilization entirely. And the evidence for this is genuinely insane. Let's start with fire.
The oldest confirmed evidence of controlled fire dates back roughly 1 million years. Wonderwerk Cave, South Africa, burnt plant ash, charred bone. Not a wildfire, a deliberate, contained fire used inside a cave by Homo erectus, our earlier cousin, with a smaller brain, a heavier brow, and absolutely zero interest in being told what to do with either. They sat around fires just like we do. They cooked, they stayed warm, and every single day they breathed smoke. For hundreds of thousands of years, smoke was basically just air. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all smoke is the same. When you burn organic matter, you don't just get carbon and water vapor. You get a cocktail of compounds, depending on what's burning. Some plants, when combusted, release psychoactive chemicals, alkaloids, terpenes, compounds that interact directly with the human nervous system in ways that are, let's say, noticeable.
Which means some of our ancestors were accidentally getting high around the campfire regularly for thousands of years, with absolutely no idea why the evenings kept feeling unexpectedly excellent. This isn't a fringe theory. Researchers have proposed for decades that early humans in forested environments were regularly exposed to smoke from psychoactive plants, cannabis, wild nicotiana species, and various entheogens that grow naturally across Africa, Europe, and Asia. The human brain has receptors that respond to cannabinoids. These receptors didn't evolve because of cannabis. They're part of our endocannabinoid system, which regulates mood, memory, and appetite. But their existence means that when a human first inhaled smoke from a burning cannabis plant, their brain wasn't confused. Their brain said, "Oh, hello. I've been waiting for you."
And that moment, that first accidental hit of psychoactive smoke beside a prehistoric fire, might be the true origin of smoking. Not a plan, not a decision, just a very pleasant accident, repeated enough times that someone eventually thought to do it on purpose. The entire global tobacco industry, centuries of ritual, shamanic tradition, medical practice, all of it might have started because a tired hunter sat downwind of the wrong bush and had a really unexpectedly great evening. History is sometimes beautiful in the most absurd ways. Now, what does the archaeology actually tell us? The oldest direct evidence of intentional cannabis use, burned seeds found in a context suggesting deliberate inhalation, comes from a burial site in the Pamir Mountains of Central Asia, dating to around 500 BC. Excavators found wooden braziers, superheated stones, and cannabis residue with unusually high THC content. Not wild cannabis used for rope, the good stuff, in a ritual burial. But here's the question you should be asking. Does the absence of older evidence mean it didn't happen earlier, or just that we haven't found it yet? Organic material almost never survives thousands of years in the ground. We find stone tools from 3 million years ago because stone is indestructible, but a wooden pipe filled with dried herbs, gone in a few centuries. A leather pouch of cannabis dissolved back into the earth long before any archaeologist arrived with a trowel. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Not here. Then in 2019, researchers found something remarkable in the Great Salt Lake Desert in Utah. A hearth, roughly 12,000 years old, containing concentrated seeds of wild tobacco, placed in a way that suggested deliberate intent. This pushed back the possible timeline of tobacco use in the Americas by thousands of years, which raises an obvious question. If people were throwing tobacco into fires 12,000 years ago in Utah, what were people in Africa, Asia, and Europe doing with their own local psychoactive plants at exactly the same time? Because 12,000 years ago, humans were everywhere, and the desire to alter consciousness is not an American phenomenon. It is a human phenomenon. Siegel, a psychopharmacologist at UCLA, proposed that the pursuit of intoxication is a fourth biological drive, alongside hunger, thirst, and sex. Elephants deliberately seek out fermented fruit. Reindeer in Siberia eat psychedelic mushrooms and then drink the urine of other reindeer who ate the mushrooms because the compounds pass through intact. Reindeer, drug recycling. In Siberia. Honestly, respect. The point is this. If the drive to alter consciousness runs this deep across this many species, it's entirely reasonable to propose that early humans were deliberately exposing themselves to psychoactive smoke long before they had pottery, pipes, or any of the tools we normally associate with smoking. They learned through experience which smoke changed something. They remembered. They told others. They passed it down through generations of knowledge that was never written, just lived, mouth to ear, around a fire in the dark. That's how most human knowledge worked for most of human history, not libraries, not schools. Fire, smoke, memory. So when did ancient humans start smoking? Honestly, we don't know exactly, and we probably never will. Physical evidence takes us back 12,000 years with confidence. The behavioral drive underneath it is almost certainly older. It may be as old as fire itself. What we do know is this. Next time you smell a bonfire, you're smelling something your ancestors smelled every single night for 100,000 years. Some of them started paying attention to what the smoke was doing to them, and then they started choosing it. And then they passed that choice down to you. Would you have figured it out? Let me know in the comments. And if this made you look at fire a little differently tonight, the next one will do exactly the same thing.